Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into Oscar Wilde's The Happy Prince. Now, it looks like a simple fairy tale, maybe for kids.
Right, on the surface, yes. But it's packed with layers. We're going to unpack some of that today. The social commentary, thoughts on compassion, sacrifice.
It's surprisingly sharp. And for anyone wanting to read along, the full text is easily found online. Luis Lopez Neves' Ciudad Seva digital library has it.
It's a great resource. So the story kicks off with this image, doesn't it? This statue of the Happy Prince, high above the city. All gilded, sapphire eyes, a big ruby on the sword hilt.
Yeah, really spectacular, designed to impress.
Absolutely. And people admire it, the town councilors included.
Mhm.
Though there's that one comment, something about it being beautiful, but not so useful.
Yeah, that's telling, isn't it? That immediate jump to practicality versus, well, beauty or maybe the feelings it might inspire.
Exactly. It sets up this tension right away. You've got the statue, this happy prince who maybe wasn't truly happy in the way people thought.
And then the other main character, the little swallow. She's just trying to get to Egypt, but gets drawn into the prince's story.
Right, and she becomes this agent of change for him and for the city, really. So our goal here is to dig into the symbolism, what Wilde might be saying about happiness, suffering, and, what things are really valuable. Does it still hit home today?
I think it does. Okay, let's start with the prince himself. Before the statue life, he was in the Palace of Nonchalance.
Sounds interesting. What was that like? Sorrow was forbidden.
Yeah, Wilde paints it as a completely sheltered existence, no awareness of hardship, just pleasure, gardens, parties, completely walled off from the city's problems.
So he was literally kept unaware.
Totally. And that's why they called him the Happy Prince,
Got it.
because he never saw anything but pleasure. Nonchalance, that lack of concern, it was designed into his life.
Okay, so his happiness was basically ignorance. Pure pleasure, no pain allowed. But then, boom, he's a statue, up high. Seeing everything, that changes things drastically. It's a complete reversal. From that high column, he can't avoid seeing the misery, the poverty, the ugliness he was shielded from before.
And even though he's now made of lead, essentially unfeeling metal.
Right. The irony is his lid heart suddenly feels more. He starts to weep. He sees the suffering. And even though he can't physically feel, he's overwhelmed by empathy. Something totally new for him.
It's like the lead heart is more human than his living one was. A real paradox.
Exactly. He only connects with real emotion once he's stuck, immobile, and forced to witness others' pain.
Okay, let's bring in the swallow. She's heading south for the winter, like swallows do, but she gets sidetracked.
She does. A little romance, actually. She fell for a reed back in the spring. Stayed behind while the other swallows went on.
Fell for a reed.
Yeah. Well, Wilde gives it this whimsical touch, but the other swallows thought it was a bit silly. They were practical, pointing out the reed wasn't exactly, going places. Tied down, lots of family, maybe a little social jab there.
Huh, maybe. So this love affair with the reed, it doesn't last. What goes wrong?
Well, she finds him a bit dull, apparently. Didn't have much to say. And more crucially, for a bird who loves to travel, he was always swaying with the wind, not very reliable, not steady.
Ah, so he couldn't commit to the journey.
Exactly. She wanted adventure, Egypt, pyramids. He was rooted. So incompatible. She says goodbye and heads off alone.
And that's how she ends up in the prince's city, looking for a place to sleep. What does she think of the statue at first?
Just sees it as good shelter.
Yeah.
A golden bedroom, she calls it. Prime real estate for a night's rest.
But then the crying starts.
Right. Drip, drip. She feels water falling on her. Looks up, clear sky. She's confused, maybe a bit annoyed. Like, what's the point of a statue if it can't even keep you dry?
Her first reaction is pretty practical then, not emotional.
Not at all. It highlights how everyone else just saw the surface, the golden jewels. They missed the sorrow it now held.
But this unexpected weeping, it makes her look closer, right? She sees his face, his tears. What happens when he explains why he's sad?
Well, she listens. And even though she's focused on Egypt and maybe a bit world-weary, his story, the sheltered past, the current heartbreak over the city's suffering, it actually touches her.
She feels pity.
Yeah, genuine pity. And that's the start of her transformation, isn't it? From being all about her own trip to feeling for someone else.
Okay, so this connection, this shared empathy leads to the first mission. The prince sees someone suffering, a seamstress.
Yes, he describes her vividly. Poor woman, worn out, hands all rough from sewing. She's embroidering passion flowers onto a fancy gown for some lady at court.
While her own son is sick.
Terribly sick. Feverish, asking for oranges, something she absolutely can't afford. All she has is river water for him. It's a stark contrast, the luxury she's creating versus her own poverty.
And the prince, stuck on his pedestal, feels useless. So he asks the swallow for help, to take the ruby from his sword.
Right. Take it to the seamstress. But the swallow's first thought is, Egypt. My friends are waiting.
Understandable, I suppose.
And she even mentions, like, kids threw stones at her once, so she's not super keen on getting involved with humans. A bit of self-preservation there.
But she does it anyway. What changes her mind?
It's the prince's sadness. He looks so genuinely upset that she just can't refuse him. That empathy kicks in again.
So off she goes with the ruby. How does that delivery work out? What's the effect?
She flies in, leaves the ruby on the table near the woman's thimble. The story says the sick boy immediately feels cooler, falls into a peaceful sleep. Instant relief.
Wow. A small act, huge impact.
Definitely. And then there's that interesting bit about the swallow herself.
Oh, right. She feels warm, even though it's cold out.
Yeah. Which is strange, isn't it? Wilde implies that the act of doing good, of compassion, creates its own kind of internal warmth, a reward beyond just feeling good about it.
Interesting. Okay, so Act 1 is complete. Then the prince spots someone else, a young writer.
Yep. Sees him up in a cold attic room, a garret. Trying to finish a play for the theater director, but he's freezing, he's starving, can't write, no fire, no food.
Another desperate situation. And this time the prince asks for one of his eyes. The sapphire ones.
Exactly. He even mentions they came from India 1,000 years ago. Real treasures.
That's a much bigger ask. How does the swallow react to that?
Oh, she's really upset this time. She argues against it, to take his eye. But the prince insists the writer's need is too great.
So, reluctantly, she agrees again, delivers the sapphire. What does the writer think?
He doesn't know where it came from, of course. He assumes it's from a wealthy admirer, someone who believes in his talent.
Ah, so it gives him hope, not just money.
Precisely. Hope and the means to buy firewood and food. He gets warm, eats, and finishes the play. It shows how kindness can unlock potential, you know?
Yeah, it fuels his creativity. Okay, ruby gone, one sapphire gone. Who's next? The match girl.
The poor little match girl. He sees her in the square below, crying her eyes out.
Why? What happened?
Her matches fell in the gutter, completely ruined. And she's terrified because she knows her father will beat her if she goes home with no money. Wilde really emphasizes her poverty. No shoes, no stockings, freezing cold.
Just awful. And the prince's solution?
The other eye, his last sapphire.
Oh, no. The swallow must have really protested then.
She pleads with him. I can't do that. You'll be completely blind. Her love for him is clearly growing. She doesn't want him to suffer more loss.
But he insists.
He insists. Command me, swallow, he says. His focus is entirely on the little girl's immediate terror.
So she takes the second sapphire? What's the girl's reaction?
She's just thrilled, calls it a lovely bit of glass, doesn't grasp its value, but she's happy, runs home laughing. It saves you from the beating, presumably.
So the prince has given away everything. Ruby, both sapphires. He's blind now. This must be a major turning point for the swallow.
It absolutely is. She makes this huge decision. She tells the prince, I will stay with you always.
Wow. Even though he tells her to go to Egypt.
Yes. He urges her, go to Egypt, little swallow. But she refuses. Her loyalty, her love, it's tied her to him now. She chooses to stay with a blind prince in the cold city. It's incredibly selfless.
It really is, giving up her entire natural life, basically.
And she tries to compensate for his blindness, doesn't she, by telling him stories.
Right. About Egypt, all the places she won't see now.
Yeah, she describes the Nile, the Sphinx, the merchants, the strange animals, painting these vivid pictures for him. It's her way of sharing the world he sacrificed his sight for, but also maybe keeping a part of her dream alive in storytelling.
And through listening, maybe, the prince has another realization about suffering.
Yes. He tells her, essentially, that all those wonders are amazing, but there's no mystery as great as misery. Human suffering is the most important thing to understand.
His focus becomes even sharper.
Completely. So he gives her one last task, the gold leaf covering his body.
He wants her to peel it all off.
Peel it off, piece by piece, and give it to the poor. The truly destitute he couldn't see before, but now relies on her to find.
So the statue becomes duller and duller.
Shabby, really. But as the gold disappears from the statue, you see the effect on the city's poorest. Wilde writes about the children getting color back in their cheeks, laughing and playing because they finally have bread.
So his outward beauty is traded for the people's well-being.
Directly. A very clear exchange.
But winter is coming on strong now. Snow, Frost? This is bad news for a swallow.
Terrible news. She gets colder and colder. She knows she should have gone south, but she won't leave the prince. Her love keeps her there,
Even as she's freezing.
even as she's literally freezing. She huddles close, tries to keep warm, eats crumbs, but her love for the prince is stronger than her survival instinct now.
And then the end for her.
Yeah, she knows she's dying. She uses her last strength to fly up to his shoulder one more time. She tells him she's going not to Egypt, but to the house of death, kisses him on the lips, and then falls down dead at his feet.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Such devotion.
Utterly selfless.
And right at that moment, something happens to the statue itself.
A sound. A loud crack from inside the statue. His lead heart breaks in two.
Why then? At her death.
It's symbolic, isn't it? Like his heart, already strained by the city's sorrow, finally breaks completely from grief at losing her, his companion in compassion. Or maybe just couldn't bear the weight of it all anymore without her help. A deep connection shattered.
So the statue is now blind, stripped bare, dull, and has a dead bird at its feet. What do the town officials think when they see this?
Oh, they're horrified. But not for the right reasons. The mayor looks up and just says, "Dear me, how shabby the happy prince looks."
Shabby. Not tragic or moving, but shabby.
Exactly. All they see is the lost gold, the missing jewels. He's not beautiful anymore, so he's not useful. Not even artistic, according to the art professor.
So their reaction is purely superficial.
Completely. They decide he's no longer beautiful, therefore no longer useful. So
Yeah.
melt him down. Make a statue of the mayor instead, maybe.
Typical.
Yeah.
But there's one last twist in the melting process, isn't there?
Yes. They tear down the statue, throw it in the furnace. But the lead heart, it won't melt.
It survives the fire.
It does. The workmen find it strange. But just toss it aside. On to the dust heap.
Where the dead swallow is already lying.
Right. The two were discarded together, unvalued, unwanted by the world.
But that's not the absolute end of the story, is it? There's a higher perspective.
Thankfully, yes. The story shifts to heaven. God asks an angel to bring him the two most precious things in that city.
And the angel chooses.
The broken lead heart and the dead swallow. Out of everything in the city, those are chosen.
Things the humans threw away as rubbish.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It shows a completely different value system, doesn't it? What heaven treasures versus what the world treasures.
And does God agree with the angel's choice?
He does. He says, "You have rightly chosen." And he decrees that the little swallow will sing forever in the Garden of Paradise, and the happy prince will praise him in the city of gold.
So ultimate validation. Their sacrifice, their love, their compassion, that was the real treasure all along.
Exactly. It's a powerful reversal of the city's judgment.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Wilde really uses this fairy tale structure to hit hard at what we value.
He does. He contrasts that superficial, sheltered happiness of the palace with the maybe more difficult, but ultimately more meaningful joy found in empathy and action.
And the blindness isn't just the prince losing his eyes, is it? It's the town officials being blind to real worth.
Absolutely. Blind to suffering, blind to compassion, blind to the value of anything that doesn't glitter or serve a practical purpose in their eyes.
The ending is so poignant because it says true value love, sacrifice might be completely missed by the world, thrown on the road as sheep even.
But it's recognized elsewhere. It endures. It has eternal worth.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it? What does happiness really mean? And maybe, what are the truly precious things, the lead hearts and dead birds, in our own communities that we might be overlooking?
Yeah, how much does that critique of valuing appearance over substance still apply today? It feels pretty relevant, unfortunately.
A lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.